Okay, welcome to J150, also known as Introduction to Criminal Law. My name is Richard Wright, and it's about 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and today is August the 11th, 2021. And today is going to be a little longer than our normal sessions will be because of the fact that I do what is called an open house the first week, where I go over the expectations. And I remind students that this video today becomes very valuable to you throughout the whole next 6 weeks or 5.5 weeks, because this class actually ends September the 17th. That's the last day of class. So trust me, it's the 11th today. It goes by so fast. You will recognize the fact that if you keep up with the assignments and pay close attention to some of the things I say in the lecture, and not just as some students do, they go come to the lecture for the key phrase, but get to the point of listening to what I share, and also pay very close attention to something that I use to grade. And what is that? I'm going to ask Jennifer, since she's here. I'm going to pick on her. What is that I? Yep, the rubric. The rubric. And the reason why I use the rubric is because it's objective rather than subjective, and it actually lays out a map for you. To be honest with you, if you utilize that and what's in the module itself for the assignment, because some of the rubrics um, don't have APA. In this class, they do. And then this is a different rubric than the one that you might see in other classes, because I actually made this rubric because they didn't have one when they redeveloped this course. So when I taught this course in the spring, I had to create, actually I created before that, but I utilized that, and it's pretty straightforward. So you will see. So let's go ahead and let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let's do this. Okay, and now you will see um, something that you are familiar with, and I'll be moving this around a little bit. Well, actually, I can put it back over here today. So I like to start with the student preview. So I'm going to go to student preview, which is exactly what you see when you open up. It's not that much different, but there's some things in there that you don't see. One of the first things that I always tell students is at the top, it has your messages, your grade book, your discussions, your calendar, and then back to the home page where it says content. And so one of the first things that I like to do is make sure you take a good look at it, and you'll see that each week it gives a topic all the way down. It provides the information that you needed, and on the left side, it gives you a roster of everyone in your course. So I reveal that to students because you can get it yourself by clicking on this, and it tells you um, who your instructor is. Again, it's me. And then it has here, I don't know why they put accommodations on here, because those wouldn't be public if they were. But at any rate, it says that I'm a student preview user. So basically in this class, we got 33 students, and you can actually you can click on each of them. Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, let's use Jennifer. And see mine, some people have faces on them. Jaleesa Evans has her face on it. I have my face on mine. And Nicole. So anyway, let's use Jennifer. So if you wanted to see information about Jennifer, you click on this, her name, and it opens up and it tells you her name. And then this is her email, her student mail address. Okay, S-mail, or we call it schmail, professors do. Uh, our emails have our, most of us, first name dot second name. Some of us have a number like I do in some, and at uh, Rasmussen edu, but students have S-mail. So you can go down and you can see each other's emails. Okay. All right. So that's for communication between you guys as well. Okay. And then, like I said again, it tells you I got a pretty big class here. I haven't had a class this big in a while, and I recognize a few of these names in this class. Okay. And then under it, groups, we don't use that much, obviously, for the reason is because of the fact that attendance at lectures, um, I mean, I think the most I've had in a lecture was 6, and I did that some time ago. Haven't seen that in a while. Most time I'll see 2 or 1 or none. And so I will do a lecture even if nobody shows up. And that's easy for me because I've done radio and television myself, and I can't see my audience at all in radio particularly, but I'll be able to converse and share details and information. Then we have our announcements, and I'm not going to click on them, but what I do want to show you is your tools and books on this side here. Okay, so your tools, you got your resource tools, which you can see that are things to help you in this course, uh, dealing with tutoring, um, research, APA, which you'll see in a few minutes that I have in all of my classes for my students as well. The Paralegal Blue Book, Grammarly. You should all have a Grammarly account. It does not cost you. You use this and click on here for instructions on how to set up a Rasmussen Grammarly account using your S-mail. And also at the same time, be aware that when I grade each of these assignments, one of the first things that I do is I run papers through Grammarly. So you will recognize very seriously that the reason for that is I do count to see if you conducted any research, provided critical thinking, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit as well. But you can get a plagiarism hit. So we use it for grammar, spelling, and plagiarism checker. And plagiarism does not just come from not providing citations and references. It can, but it can also come about by taking large portions of sources that you discover from your research and include them in your paper to satisfy the page requirement. We don't want you to do that. We want you to analyze and critique the material. So I run the papers all through Grammarly, which means that all of your assignments written must be submitted in Word document. If you submit an assignment in PDF or if you submit it in Publisher or PowerPoint, you will get a 0. And I say this up front and tell students to make sure that they have access to Word from the beginning. Okay. And I think if I'm right, that part of the university's uh, provision for students is to make sure you have access to PowerPoint, Word, um, and I don't know about PDF, but I think they do the Office for students for you as well. But anyway, the point of the matter is it's very important for you to recognize that. Then you'll have your Noodle guide, which you'll set up your Noodle tools for formatting your papers. You're going to discover APA is the requirement for written assignments. You're going to recognize it's double space, and you're going to recognize that you must have citations in the body and reference at the end. So there should be a reference page, and it should be a separate page. There should be a properly formatted cover page, which your Noodle tools will help you to set up, because once you set it up, you can use it in not just my class, but other classes as well. Now, one of the things I do want to tell you is that we use 7th edition of APA. And again, there's the APA guide here, but I'm going to show you it in a few minutes in my uh, uh, announcements, because I provide that there for you. But there's APA academic writers, all kinds of things to help you there. The writing guide, from discussion posts to PowerPoints to research papers, and it helps you with that. And then guides by subject. Now, let me show you something here. And then the Library and Learning Center webinar, which you can register for seminars. And if they have one, no events are scheduled, you'll be able to come on here and you can find them. But let me show you your guides by subject and topic. Since we're criminal justice, let's move this. The online library allows us to scroll down to School of Justice Studies. You click on it, and there you are. For research, database, writing help you with APA, help you to navigate Blackboard Ultra, career services, you use that later, tutoring, criminal justice class, it shows you. So here's some resources for this class that are under there as well. And if you were to click on that, it would open up and it would tell you some more tools that will help you, along with a discussion post video. So very, very helpful here. All right. Okay, so anyway, let's go back. I want to go back to guides a minute. Let's go back there. Okay, I want to go back to criminal justice studies, and it tells you who your librarian is. That's that gentleman on the left side there, smiley face, Dennis Johnson. He is the librarian to help you with resources as well. You can actually have an online schedule appointment with him as well. And then Bethany Marston is the Learning Center coordinator for School of Justice Studies. Some of you may know her. Jennifer, you know Bethany, don't you? You know of her. Okay. All right. She is the person who hires student tutors, student ambassadors, and people in that category. And so oftentimes I have a lot of my students that reach out to me for assistance with that. And usually these are students that I've had in more than one class that will have me to submit um, a reference for that. But the Learning Center coordinator Bethany Marston. I don't know if I'll click on this if you'll see Bethany or not. They used to have her. No, this is how to send her an email. Okay, so I can get out of that. Um, no, I don't want to save the changes. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show you. And then it tells you social media stuff for School of Justice Studies, um, all kinds of valuable things. Fast case includes law, cases, statutes, regulations, court rules, and constitution from all 50 states as well as the federal coverage as well. Okay, so we have a full source of information and tools to help you be successful right at your fingertips. Okay, now I will tell you this, that, and I'll show you in a few minutes, that if you have technical problems, then you're going to reach out to what we call personal support, or PSC. I'll be sharing that with you in just a few minutes. All right. So let's close that. All right. So, oh, okay. And the other tool that I want to point out to you is your syllabus, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. Um, might as well do it now. Might as well do it now. Your syllabus is your contract, and it tells you first who your instructor is, and it gives my office hours. I know Jennifer knows this one, don't you, Jennifer? About the 25th hour? Yeah, there you go. And for new students, it means what it says. I am that for real, seriously. You can text me. No, let me say this. There's a reason why I put it in this order. It's not just hapstance. Is because I like to get text from students and followed by calls. And a lot of times, if you text me, I will try to call you and talk to you if you have a need for it. Now, any hour, any hours, I got to fix that. That should be any hour of the day. I was doing this the other day late in the night. Uh, any hour, no hours. I got to get that S out of there, except the 25th hour. And so it means what it says. If you reach out to me the 25th hour today, first of all, I want to know how you did it. Secondly, I won't get it. So, um, and it happens. I don't say that if you hit that, that I'll respond instantly. A lot of times I will, but sometimes it'll take me a little while. But here's my whole point. If you have a serious problem, and some students still refuse to do it, I forgot to put in here, email me. Yeah, I got to fix this one. You can text me, call me, or email me. Oops, wow. I really got to get that one fixed. I'll fix that a little later on. But anyway, the point of the matter is that you can call me, text me, or email me. Emailing is the worst way to reach me. The reason being is because it'll go into this system that we have here. The text will show up on this phone as well as the phone calls. There's the phone number right there. I don't have a Google number. This is it. This is my actual cell phone number. This number right here. If you were to dial this right now, it would ring. You won't hear it though because I got it on silent. So I like open communication with my students. I'm like that. This is the email address for the class. Notice it has a 2 behind it. If you do email me and you don't put a 2 behind it, I'll still get it either way. This reminds you that you are required to conduct research for all papers. And I kind of alluded to that. Sole source of the paper cannot be the textbook. You'll lose 2 points. When I say alluded to, the second paragraph is what I was referring to. APA format, citations in the body, references at the end, and a cover page and so forth. You'll lose a point for that. You won't see that in the rubric, but I'm telling you up front. But that should go without saying, because if you're going to do it APA means a cover page, reference page. It means citations in the body. The importance of citations we will be discussing in just a few minutes, but one of the important reasons for citations is that it provides support to your statements that are included in your paper, so that if the reader wants to go learn more about what you said in there, they can go to the source that you got it from. That's why we don't want you copying and pasting big portions, because of the fact that it won't really end up being your paper by the time it's finished. It'll be a gumbo or hodgepodge of copied materials. We want your critical thinking, which we're going to talk about as a transferable skill in just a few minutes. And then this tells you the course information, the textbook, which you guys have access to as an ebook. If you have problems getting the ebook, reach out to your advisor and or technical support, PSC. And again, you want to probably put that number. I have it on my phone, and I'll show you where it's going to be in here as well. Okay. Okay. Course begins um, uh, as um, as it says here. Term 2 starts in August. Okay, that's for this term, and it ends in September. All right. Then your weekly discussions. Make sure your discussion posts are detailed, not just yes or no, not I agree. And you'll discover from the schedule that I'm going to show you that the discussion posts are due this week on Saturday, because normally they're due Tuesday. But anybody knows why we don't require that you do them this week for Tuesday? I'll answer that for you. That's rhetorical. It's because we didn't start until today, Wednesday. So we don't require that you post an assignment before the class actually starts. And we try not to do things on the first day. I don't normally do lectures the first day, but I had to do this week because of the fact that I got to make sure you get lectures for the first week, even though it's a short week. So I will be doing 3 lectures, one tonight. Tomorrow morning, I rarely do them, but I will be doing lectures Thursday and Friday in the morning. But you're going to see in this class that the normal lecture will be taking place on Tuesdays. That's the way it is in this class that I teach you. So anyway, back to discussion posts. Make sure that you demonstrated some critical thinking. I do not necessarily require citations in the body or references at the end, but if you want to do them, I let you know that. And Jennifer, having been one of my students, I'm sorry, Jennifer, I'll pick on you probably this whole session because you're a student who understands my process. And I appreciate you coming out, even though you know how I roll. But I'll be talking about specifics of this course as well. The point of the matter is that I want you to get a good start. And I believe a good start results in a good finish. And you'll see me talking about that throughout this course. All right. So your initial post, if you will discover in term 2, is due Saturday at midnight. And then your reply post is due Saturday. Starting from weeks 2 through 5, your initial post will be due on Tuesdays, and then your reply post due Saturday. However, in week 6, your discussion post will be due on initial post will be due that Tuesday again, but your last day of class, which week 6, will be due on the 17th. Again, you don't have to remember all that. It's going to come to you, but I'm just letting you know how we operate here. I've already shown you the resource tab and page. So you have readings in this course, which each week you will see that in the module. Your discussion posts, your practice activities. These are things that I really highly recommend that you pay attention to. Particularly the practice quiz. You're going to discover something about this class, and it'll come up in just a second. Written assignments, you'll be asked to review real world scenarios, and you'll have them in the module as well as in the rubric. And you're going to create these materials and you're going to do research. Now, here, back to the quizzes. There's going to be in this class 2 quizzes. 2 quizzes, only 2. And each quiz is pretty cool because quiz number 1 comes in week number 3. Okay, covering the first 3 modules. So week 1, week 2, and week 3. And you will have some practice quizzes in the practice activities, and I'll show you how that works in before we adjourn tonight. Your second quiz is going to be due the last day of class, or the 17th, and you're going to deal with the last 3 modules. So the good part about the quizzes is that you only have to have 3 weeks of information to perform well. They are timed. They are timed, and I'll share that with you as we go forward. Then your live classroom. I'm not going to cover that in detail. All right. Now, see how they break down. Discussions constitute 90% of your grade. 18%, or 90 points out of 500. Written assignments, almost 50%, 200 points. Notice the quizzes combined together. The 2 quizzes, though it says 36%, but if you add that up together, that's 76%. And you will see that it is very important. And then your discussion posts can knock you down. There'll be a difference between an A and a B in passing and failing a course. And then your live lectures, you get 6 points you get 5 points for each of your lectures, and given it on the correct day, in which we'll talk about that in terms of scheduling. So, and how do I know that? Because number 1, you'll give me a key phrase or a word back that I'll give you. Okay, for a total of 500 points. So I want to say this, and I say this at the beginning of every course, that the grading scale goes from A to F. I don't pay attention to what is on the right side of this grading scale. I don't teach with in mind the right side of the grading scale, nor the last part, the bottoms of this. My goal is Dean's List, that's this, and honor roll. Those are the kind of students that I want each of my students to be. And it's not to make me look good, it's to help you develop the habit of performing at the top, because when it comes to professionalism, and I got students who would tell you that have been through my classes that are actually working in law enforcement, working in paralegal, working in various fields. They'll say one of the things about Professor Wright is from the very beginning, he didn't coddle me. He made me live up to the best and develop good habits to do well. Yeah, you're going to run into problems, but we're going to have problems from, as they say, from birth to death. But here's the point. You want to, yep, yep, that is a fact, she said. And I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. I love my students. My students are my friends, and I remember your names. Um, I remember students that have had trouble, but I don't criticize students who have trouble. I do what I can. I've never failed a student in my entire teaching career. My students that fail know why they fail. They fail themselves. But that's why I stress certain things. And we'll talk about those things in just a few minutes. So there's my understanding. So don't call me, text me, email me any hour of the day and ask me, how do I get a C in your class? I will say I respectfully decline to answer that question, and that's it. I won't do it. I will not give you that because I don't want ordinary students. Employers don't want ordinary employees. They want the best. And if you're going to be successful in financially in life, I went to a good law school. I went to Northwestern University School of Law, as you can probably tell if you looked at the information about myself. It's a good school. It was a challenging school. I've done all kinds of things, and I've been a police officer. I've been an investigator. I was a paralegal. I've done all of this, and I'm proudly able to say I'm 71 years old. People don't believe I'm that old, but I am. My body lets me know when I aches and pains. But guess what? Everything is okay. I'm doing well, and I encourage students, take care of your physical health, your mental health, and I'll make my announcement up front. If you haven't, get the shot. I'm just saying that because there have been many of my students who will tell you why, unfortunately, they went through what they didn't. And now with this new variant, wear a mask, protect yourself now. I mean, that's just, you know what? If you become a police officer, you're going to have a bulletproof vest, and you're going to have helmets, and you're going to have all kinds of things to protect yourself. Do that. This is not a political announcement. This is a announcement of health. Anyway, that's it. But anyway, I want you to be successful, but I want you to be in the right attitude to be able to do so. We all have challenges, and you'll discover that about me when you get into my little uh, thing that I'll be sharing with you guys about adversity as a springboard to success. And then this tells you what I do. I will seek to get your grades in by the Friday, excuse me, the Friday after they are due. So your grades, final grades are due for written assignments, usually on Saturdays. I mean, Saturdays for discussion posts, for reply posts, and then you'll have Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time for your written assignments. By 11:59 p.m. Fridays, I will seek endeavor to get grades in. I have not always made that deadline. Particularly this time, I got 93 students, I think it is. I wrote it down anyway. It's a lot. It's a lot of students. So I will be getting your grades in for you. And then your rubrics. In your rubric, you will see comments where if you did well, I'll just check, check, check. That means you followed the rubric. But if you deviated from the rubric and did something bad, or you missed something, I will let you know that as well. So it's very important. All right. Accommodations, if you have needs for accommodations, you talk to your campus coordinator. Usually that's your academic dean, and they will let you know about that. And then what they do is they will make sure that you satisfy the legal requirements of the ADA, and make sure that you have those satisfied for aid to disabled individuals. Let's talk about something that's really important that we share in this school in common. And we have done this because employers have told us that they want students who possess these skills. And we incorporate those in all of our assignments. And that's the way that we professors should be thinking in terms of identifying your transferable skills. And actually, that's what the rubrics are designed to do. That's what my lectures are designed to do. And so transferable skills, you will learn that they're known in particular order, but you need every single one of these. The first one that I'm going to talk about is communication. Your written and oral communication is critical, essential. Um, I'll give you an idea of an example about how, and I teach a class called Contemporary Issues in Criminal Justice, J280, which some of you will take later. But and usually that's people who are on their way out with their associates, and hopefully they'll come back for their bachelor's. But written communication should be dead on spot right, should be accurate, should be truthful, and the reason is because your documents, your reports end up as exhibits in court. All right. And so you should recognize that one error in the document. Let me tell you, I won a case as a defense attorney, which I did most of my career, but I was prosecution for a little bit, but defense was my primary area. And I won the case because someone wrote in their report, the police officer, that the witness told them that my client committed an offense on April 31st. Now, that jumped out at me like a neon sign. I said, why, Professor Wright? Because I was taught a poem which I end up using in court in my closing arguments. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest of 31 except the month of February. I remember that. And guess what? That one little point made the witness, made the police officer look really bad. And the jury, they said, we doubt your credibility, your professionalism. We doubt if you really know what you're talking about. You're telling the truth. And they had no other choice. They found my client not guilty, even though there were other reasons. But they pointed out to me at the end. I talked to the jurors afterwards. They let us do that. And they told us, they said, I've used reports where people have written minor things such as lowercase i's. You should know that I standing alone should always be capitalized. And I've had officers on the stand where they've typed their reports and they did it with lowercase I. And I would read it out and ask them, I says, so you wrote this with a lowercase I? And automatically the person who's on the stand who authored it, I don't care whether what area they're in, if they're the author of that report, they say, well, yeah, I made a mistake. Magical words to a defense attorney. The point of the matter is, and somebody says, well, that's minor. Well, boxing, You don't always have to knock out somebody to win. You jab and you score points after a while. Okay, it's just like in most sports: baseball, basketball, football, soccer, hockey. It's not about the score in the first quarter. It's about the final score at the end that's added all up that determines who the winner or the loser is. That's the same thing that happens there. So that's part of the reason. You must be able to express yourself in a manner that's professional. Um, I teach a course that they don't have anymore. I've taught a course where it involved examples of communication that officers, law enforcement people, correction people should never use, but especially investigators and detectives and police officers, and that is to use foul language when talking to individuals. I don't care if they're the worst of the worst. You still need to maintain your professionalism. Critical thinking. So what is critical thinking? Critical thinking is analyzing the material, as I talked about earlier, um, breaking it down, make it your own. I'm a natural critical thinker because I went to law school and I was taught what's called the Socratic method. And in the Socratic method, it taught us through a series of questions until the light bulb came on. And that's how we got to information. And it allowed me to learn to think on my feet. If I was in court and I heard something I didn't like, I could stand up and object to it. Then the judge says, basis, counselor. My critical thinking had to have kicked in, and I'm able to elaborate to the judge. And sometimes the judge rules in my favor and sometimes not, but you still got to be that. You got to be that in all areas: law enforcement, probation, parole, anything that you do. But critical thinking is so important. Digital fluency. Everything's digital. In fact, I make the announcement to remind my students that we are in a world where you're under observation, because everybody has one of these things that I know practically. And in here, there's at least one app, and it's called the camera. And as you know, the camera can determine a lot of evidence in cases, as you're familiar with the George Floyd case and what happened there. That's the most recent massive example, but there are cameras all over the place. I right now have ADT in my house, and I have cameras that I can see things, and it records it on my phone, on my computer, and I can see what's going on the outside. I can see if you mess with my car in the driveway. I got the doorbell. I can, and I don't have to be at home. I could be anywhere. Point of the matter is, it's based on digital fluency and being able to utilize these systems. You must be able to utilize Word document, Excel spreadsheets, PDF, um, Publisher, and all these things. But you really got to be able to utilize these systems. When I came out of law school in 1978, 43 years ago, we didn't have any of that. But now I'm adept at it. Your textbooks are digital. Some students don't like that. I love it because I used to go through the burden of carrying armfuls of books when I went to college and law school. Digital fluency. You're going to discover in you've seen your in squad cars before. Um, Probation officers have this in their cars, and I know that parole officers do, and law enforcement, that the computer has a system that they can do all kinds of things with it, but you got to be digitally fluent. Diversity and teamwork. Diversity, you're working with people from all backgrounds. You're going to have people that live your way of life. There are people who are LGBT. There are people who have different cultures and religions, different beliefs. The point of the matter is respect them for where they are. Your way is not the right way. Your way is to be respected. And I am a Christian and a strong believer. I don't push that on people, but that's how I live my life. I didn't always live my life that way, but I've decided. And I run across people. I've worked with people from the Jewish community, the big law firm I was in before I became a lawyer, starting as a messenger, a file clerk, a law librarian, and a paralegal, was in a Jewish law firm. I learned all their culture. I learned all about everything. And so I understand. I know about Yom Kippur. I know about Rosh Hashanah. I know about uh, everything, Hanukkah. I know all of that stuff, just to use an example. Um, and so respect people, different races. And so you have to understand and relate to people because you're going to deal with people from all walks of life. In fact, at this school, we have a diversity and inclusion council of which I'm a member of. I haven't been able to be very active because of some issues I'm dealing with health-wise, not with me, but with one of my members of my family. But the Diversity and Inclusion Council uh, teaches us the importance of diversity, and it's a movement that our country is a melting pot. Okay, teamwork. You're going to work with people from various fields. I've worked with probation officers, parole officers. I've worked with investigators, detectives. I've worked with um, judges, probation, not just probation, youth probation, adult probation, uh, everything from A to Z. I've worked with forensics people, the scientific aspects of it. Uh, all make up a team in terms of performing in your various roles. So how do we do teamwork in this class? The way that we do it is through our discussion posts. Remember, you're going to respond to another student's discussion post. You're going to not shoot them down or anything. You're going to respect their position. I have students that totally say stuff that sometimes is way out in left field. I don't shoot them down. I just feed them back facts in responding to what they say. All right. Ethics and professional responsibility. Ethics and professional responsibility. The ethics. Professor, you keep saying that. Ethics is your beginning and your end. In fact, we'll be talking about ethics tonight, academic integrity, and things of that nature in just a few minutes. Ethics involved in your writing. That's part of why we use APA citations and references, and you're going to see a very short video about that in just a few. Um, Time really goes fast in this, so I have to move on. So now my role to produce, excuse me, students who are ethical, professional, and educated. If we have those kinds of individuals, we can fix all the ills that take place um, with our various professions. And so it's important to me that I make that contribution with my students. Um, Ethics can get you in trouble. For example, violation of ethics. If you, for example, write reports that are incorrect, one of the things that can catch you is what I talked about earlier, the digital tool of a camera. The recording will contradict what your reports say, and it will not be so cool. It could result in possibly you going to jail, perjuring yourself, things of that nature. You can find that as well, perjuring. Um, Professional responsibility, all organizations, well, from law enforcement to lawyers to any area, you have what we call professional responsibility, where there are codes of conduct that you must adhere to in order to be able to perform well. Information literacy. While I'm on that, it means provide sources that are credible to support your written documents or your arguments. To that end, there is one source that we constantly as professors remind our students, and you'll see it in the rubric, never to use this tool as a source of reference or citation. Does anybody know what I'm about to say? There we go. Thank you, Jennifer. Wikipedia. The reason why we don't like Wikipedia is because it is a word-based document, which means anybody can come along and change it. And then we also want you to be able to recognize and understand that, yeah, almost every material has some favoritism or some bias in it. However, you should be very careful about applying those positions and statements about those kinds of things. All right. So anyway, information literacy. So I was just one, but there are others. Attendance policy, I don't go over that. You pay attention to that. The late assignment policy is the last one I will really pay more close attention. Students can submit assignments up to 7 days, after the due date. However, the bad part about it is that you don't have to get to 7 days to be failing, because each day you will lose 10% for every day. So let's say you got a good paper and it's turned in on Sunday, you got it, bam, okay, boom, you get the 100%. You take that same paper and turn it in on Monday, then you're going to lose 10%, which means it's now a 90. By Tuesday, it's a 80. It's a 80. Look at what happens. You're down to B minus. By Wednesday, it's a 70. Look where you drop to. C, and then D, and then F. So it doesn't take you to get to 7 days. So it behooves you to get that in. Now, I am very, very, very fair when it comes to paying attention to my students with grades. But before I get to that, I want to remind you of something about discussion posts that's so important. Discussion posts are due when they say they are due. If you submit your discussion post, for example, if you submit your reply post after the due date, you might get some points. So let me give you a hypothetical. I'm not going to use this week, but I'll use next week. Next week, your initial post is going to be due Tuesday. Each day it's late, you're going to might lose 1 point. Up until Saturday, when your reply post will be due. So let's say you submit your reply post and your initial post on Saturday. That's going to lose you 4 points right off the bat for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you'll automatically lose points because it's late. It was due Tuesday. If you submit both posts, then if it's quality, then you'll get all the points for the reply post, but then you'll lose points for the initial post. Now, if you submit your your initial post on that Saturday, and your reply post, listen to what I'm about to say. If you submit your reply post Sunday, this is very important what I'm about to say, then you will get a point off for it being 1 day late, assuming that it's quality. So that means that you would get points deducted for the late initial post, and then you'll get 1 point taken off for your reply post. If you submit your reply post and your initial post Sunday after 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, I have to give you a 0. I have to give you a 0 for that, and you won't get any points at all. How come? Because the purpose for discussion posts is to cover the material for that week, and you want to interact with. Nobody's going to be able to respond to your post if you submit it after the course is over. After it's over, it's like if you were physically in the classroom, and what we talk about this week, and you come in next week. We might have a quick review, but we will not spend details in that next session. We'll be moving on to the next topic, and that's why that is like that. So it says online discussions conclude at the end of the current week. Okay. Now, let's get to the important part about late submissions. Instructors may waive late penalty in the case of extenuating circumstances. And if you read that whole through, it starts out with instructors and it ends in faculty. That's the same person who is going to be able to determine. That's why I'm open with the 24 hours of being able to email me, maybe to text me, call me, or email me any hour of the day, because I want to be able to help you. Extenuating circumstances is determined on a case-by-case basis. I have, and then one other thing, if a person is involved in the military, I never penalize them if they're on duty and they cannot do anything. I also don't penalize my students when there is a, okay, like in Minnesota during the last year when there was civil unrest that was taking place because of the George Floyd situation. I had people who had to work long hours in Minneapolis and borrowed from Minnesota and other departments. I didn't penalize those people because of that situation. However, working overtime is not going to do it unless it's one of those type of situations. People who worked in a hospital because of the COVID-19 situation, there were a lot of flexibility in terms of that. Now, just be aware, I extend that, but not to discussion posts after the date of Sunday, after Saturday night. I can't do it that way because even if you're not feeling well, discussion posts are the easiest thing to get done. And so I always tell students, you can do your initial post and your reply post right away. By the way, speaking of posts, you'll see in your discussion posts, if you open them up before you post something, you won't see anything. It's because I'm under what we call a post first, which means you have to post before you can see. All right, we got about another half an hour to go. Time goes so fast. But these are things that are very important for you to understand. Incomplete grade policy, you need to read that yourself. Academic integrity policy, you need to read that, particularly dealing with the cheating, collusion, plagiarism, and things of that nature. Okay. And so that's it for the syllabus. All right. Again, it's under here. All right. So now let's get into messages. Okay. This is where I can view messages that you don't see any because I didn't put any in here. Remember, I'm showing you a student preview, but if I wasn't in that, then you would see more. I'm gonna go to the grade book and then discussion. I'm gonna get into. I'm gonna get out of student mode now, okay? Because I want to get into the regular mode. Okay. So messages, and you'll see here who has sent messages and messages I've sent. See, this is Jennifer responding to my email. Two Jennifers. Okay, and this is the PowerPoints that I sent because I also sent a welcome email to each of you as well. All right. Your grade book. This is where I can see here each week your assignments, and we're going to go over that in a minute. And then two people have submitted discussion posts. Not unusual. Today is the first day, so no big deal. Written assignments. And by the way, you see the due dates right next to it as well. And you're going to see that in the module as well. And then the live classroom. Nobody has that yet because I haven't given it to you. And you'll see that for each of the week. Discussions. You have a student lounge where each of you can get to know each other, and you tell people about yourself. Nobody has done that yet, but usually students will do that. They used to have it with professors and students, but now so that you can learn some stuff about me, you can go all the way down to the course chat, which is visible to you. Click on that and it will show my response. And it will show you this, and it tells you a little bit about me, shows you my wife, four of the kids. I have eight, four of them are adults, and um, she's actually bigger now. These two dudes are 6'2", and then there's my wife and myself. All right. And then it tells you my background and education. It tells you things that I like. Shows you my exciting thing that I've done in life, and that was graduate from Northwestern University in 1978. I think it was July. I think it was the 17th. I think that was the exact date um, of that. It's not on the bottom of this picture. And then it gives you a little mnemonic that I um, use to help encourage students to be successful. I do a full session on this at grammar schools, high schools, colleges, using each of these letters there. And then here's my email address. Notice here is without the two. And then here is my personal email address. If you want to send that, I don't care. You can do that. This is my cell phone number, call or text. This is my office number. I'm never there because I'm online. So I go in there every once in a while. It'll send me a message, but this number is the number that you really need to know. All right. So that's the course chat. So you could find that information. All right. And then each week you'll see discussions. This week it has a little thing there because it tells me that there are some students who submitted them already, and I will respond to them. Each week you'll see discussion. Now that's one place you'll see it. All right. So now let's look at the course calendar. I like the month view. You will see today tells you when the lecture, when classes begin, and then it tells you your posts are due Saturday, and then it tells you your written assignment along with your live classroom phrasal due the 15th. Notice that starting next week, the 17th, your initial post will be due and your live lectures will take place on Tuesdays all the way through. We can go all the way over to, by the way, if you click on those, you'll see more information. Oops, I jumped to October. September. All right, so you see all the way down. And the class ends the 17th, as I told you, that Friday, not the 18th, not the 19th. All right. So what I was telling you is that if you were to click on any of this, like for example this, it will, if you go down, it will tell you this is today's date, and you'll see that this has the lecture link, and then this has the link. So student says, I couldn't find the link. Links all over the place, but it's on your calendar as well. And it's, if you click on it, which I won't, it will bring you to where we are right now. Okay. So that's the course calendar. Due dates are all in there as well. Let's go back to this. I didn't have to do it that way. I could have done it the other way. Okay. So now let's get to your announcements. Okay. You will see throughout this course, every week's announcements, they will go on the archive for you if you're looking at yours, but all the way from week 1. But I'm going to, these APA assistants, remember I talked about that? There's right there. Tells you about that. And then if you would click on that, it opens up and it helps you to get basics on APA. I'm one of the professors who put that in there. So APA assistance is there. It's going to be right there at your fingertips. Now, this one, adversity is the springboard to success. You're going to see that that's my motto, and you're going to learn why. This is a YouTube video that I used to do this in every open house, but it made it too long. But you can look at this yourself. In fact, if you were to click on it, and it's a hyperlink, it will take you directly to it. Here it comes. All right, let's dismiss that. And it's an hour and 3 minutes, and it tells you about my experience in life. Jennifer, you've heard that this one before, haven't you? Um, yes, yes. And I tell students, share it, but it tells you why I am the way that I am. I'm a very unusual individual, but I try to tell students, I says, uh, don't come to me, as a student one time came to me and says, you don't understand about going through bad stuff. Look at this adversity as a springboard to success. You don't get grades for it, but it's there for you, and you can copy and paste and you can save it. All right. But I encourage you to, at some point, look at this so that you'll learn about me. The writing process, it gives you the steps for the writing, and there it is right there. I'm not going to go over in detail. The academic integrity video. Now, I'm going to take a few minutes and share this with you. I'm going to, I don't know if you can hear it with my headphones on, but I'm going to click on it, but it has closed caption. Pay close attention to this. It's only about 4 minutes long. Okay, it's closed caption. Headphones up.
Academic integrity is making decisions in your academic life that are based on honesty,
There we go.
trust, fairness, responsibility, and respect. This means being honest in the work you do while respecting the work that others do. So what is cheating? Cheating means distributing or receiving answers or information by any means other than those expressly permitted by an assignment's requirements or an instructor. Some examples of cheating include asking fellow students for answers or copying answers during a test, using notes, devices, or materials during a test that your instructor has not approved, purchasing papers from websites or other sources, copying your classmates' work, assisting a classmate in misconduct, and other violations as noted in the academic integrity policy that can be found in all course syllabi. Always ask your professor if it's okay to use notes during a test or to work together with classmates on an assignment or quiz. Now let's talk about plagiarism. Plagiarism means using another individual's work without giving them credit or taking another person's work and claiming it as your work. Some examples of plagiarism are turning in an assignment that someone else wrote, copying words or ideas from someone else. This can be a library resource, course textbook, internet resource, or other material without giving the original creator credit, failing to put quoted works in quotation marks, or using someone else's ideas in your essays, but changing a few of the words to make it sound like the words are your own. Plagiarism is not just about written words and ideas. It's possible to plagiarize images, graphs, coding, or video as well. So how can you avoid plagiarism? Cite your sources, both in the body of your paper as in-text citations and on your references page. Whenever you want to use words, images, video, or ideas that were created by another person, you should cite that person appropriately as the source of that information.
But how does academic integrity relate to the work world? Isn't it just a college thing?
No, integrity in the workplace starts with good practices and skills built while you are a student. Would you turn in a project document to your manager as your own when someone else wrote it? Not if you want to keep your job. Individuals can be reprimanded or even fired from their job for plagiarism. Following academic integrity guidelines while you are in school builds those skills and ethical practices that carry through to the workforce.
Okay, I understand how they're connected, but what do I do if I need more help?
If you have questions on the academic integrity policy, consult your course syllabus, talk with your instructor or dean, and if you need assistance with APA citation style or how to avoid plagiarism, contact the Rasmussen library team through our live chat or schedule a research appointment on our library website or through the resources tab of your course. If you would like APA tutoring, schedule an appointment with one of our peer tutors on the course resources tab.
Okay, so that's that.
Focus uh, on that information. It's very, very, very important. By the way, let's go back to the APA assistance. And if you go here, you can also see the, I think it's the library and learning. Okay, no, not that one. No, I'm looking for, oh, I know. Okay, the toolkit. Let's see. Let's see, I'm trying to find the one that, um, okay. Okay, here we go. APA tells you about APA tutoring and things of that nature. The key thing is that all of it is right here at your fingertips, and you'll have that information there. Okay. All right, so that'll be right there for you. Then we have the welcome announcement that you all should have read, and it tells you about me, the requirements and things that we want you to make sure you do. All these things are highlighted. You want to check them over. And it tells you about the library and learning center. Um, and then it guides to um, um, education and justice studies, tutoring. Then it tells you here in this paragraph here, tells you when the lecture is taking place. Starting next week, it tells you, like I said, on the calendar, Tuesdays, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m., beginning the 17th. And then it tells you the link again. Now, at the bottom here, it tells you for personal support for technical issues. This number you might want to take down, 1-866, or you can just do 866-693-2211. Save that in your phone so that you can be able to reach them. Now, they do offer email. I don't recommend email because you get more done by the calls. They are 24/7. It says it right there, 24/7, on holidays as well. So that's your welcome announcement there. By the way, these will remain available to you, as I said, throughout. So now let's look at week one, this week specifically. Let's move this down here. Okay, so crime and the Constitution. I will not be going over the materials in there in detail. I'm just going to point out to you. And starting next week, I will be covering the lectures on it. But you're going to read um, Crime and the Constitution, chapters 1 and 2 of your textbook. And by the way, you should have received the corresponding PowerPoints. Did you get the PowerPoints? Okay, great. So those will not be used for teaching. I use those for helping you to study. It's really a summary of your chapter, but don't use that in place of. And then there are the activities, types of crime, what is crime, the Fourth Amendment, probable cause, key terms for practice, and then the practice quiz. And then this tells you again the schedule for the lecture, and it tells again the link once again there. It's not hyperlinked there, but you can copy and paste it, but you already have it several places. Discussion, assignment, police dogs, and warrantless searches. Again, both of those are due this Saturday. And finally, complete the written assignment, elements of criminal law, due by this Sunday. Okay, and I'm going to show you that information. Again, this reminds you about the lecture. Start strong and finish strong. I talked about that earlier. And then my motto is adversity is a springboard to success. You'll see that each and every week. Okay, and those are the announcements. Now, let's take a look before we wrap up at this module. You will see an overview and activities, and it just tells you this is our objectives to cover these issues. It tells you that you have a reading that I just talked about, and then this tells you these are activities that I just talked about a few minutes ago, and then the assignments, discussions, the written assignment, and then the live classroom activity. Notice it is very, very, very important. You see the word research and reflection under these assignments. It is so important for you to understand research and reflection, okay? Especially research. I already mentioned that. All right. So now you have your discussion assignment, which is going to just show who has submitted them. But if I go down, but it tells you when you, this says the 14th. That's when your posts are due this week. And that's usually what you'll see here is you'll see the reply post. But your initial post, remember, is in your calendar and it tells you when it's going to be due. Notice this week they're both due Saturday, and it tells the maximum number of points, and it says you discussion activity is hid until the student posts a response. That's what I said earlier. And this tells you who has submitted the assignments there, and this tells you a little bit about it, so I'm not going to scroll down there. But this gives you the information about what you need to do, and then your initial post, and then your reply post. Okay. Again, I will spend more time during the course of the week in regular classes. Here, it tells you once again your assignments. Okay, it tells you what your assignment is. It tells you your due date. And it gives, listen to me good, scenario number 1 should be at least 1 page, double spaced, with citations in the body. You only have to have 1 reference page. Scenario number 2, let me say this. When you complete this assignment, it is a good thing to caption it. Scenario number 1, you don't have to say apartment fire, and then you write about what you do in paragraph form, not one long paragraph. And again, remember it's APA. Each of these should be 1 page long. A minimum, it says, of 3 pages. Now, the reason why I say 1 page minimum is because of the fact that I don't want you to write 2 pages on one and then a short paragraph on the other to satisfy the 3 pages. Because you're not going to adequately discuss the issues. Okay, and it tells you right here. Then it has a guide here to help you with, I already showed you that actually, but if you click on that, it takes you to the guide that I showed you and each week. Now, the rubric, here's the rubric for this class. Like I said, this one is pretty simple and it's taking a few minutes to pop up. There we go. All right, so the criteria is over here for scenario 1, and it tells you what you need to do. Remember, 1 page, a minimum. You can go more. Number 2 tells you what you need to do to satisfy this. 3, the type of criminal laws. Make sure it's a minimum of 1 page. APA formatted. You will lose points if you don't have citations in the body, proper grammar, spelling, paragraphs, and things of that nature. A 3-page minimum, I will check to see. All right, I already told you about APA, then it tells you no Wikipedia. And that's the rubric. I think it's as straightforward as you can get, and it explains how you can lose points. All right. Any question about the written assignment? Okay. Again, if you do, this is not the last chance to respond. You can respond through the method I said earlier. Again, as soon as I get through, I'm going to fix that. That's bugging me. That's been bugging me, that what I had in the on the syllabus. All right. Now let's go down and show you your live classroom recording. This also is another place where you can go and find the link. And again, if you clicked on this, it tells you when this is taking place right now. And if you clicked on this, it will lead you right to where we are right now. So I won't do this. Now, After this is over, I will be backing this out and putting in the link that you will see to where to find the recording itself. You guys have an advantage that you're here, but you still want to find out where the recording is, because you can sometimes forget stuff and you can go back and you can look at it. But the key thing is that you'll have the first bite at being able to give me the key phrase that I'll be giving you in just a few minutes. So very important. So I will be backing this out, and then what will be in here is it'll be a YouTube link. I convert all of my lectures to YouTube. Makes it easier for students to use. You can use that, and much easier than WebEx. Sometimes there are WebEx issues that takes place. All right. So then the last thing here is that tells you your assignment is due, the key phrase for 5 points that I give you, and you put it in there, and then you hit submit in terms of that. All right. These are the areas here each week, and I'm just going to show you these. We're almost at time, but give me a minute if I go over it. The types of law. This tells you the types of laws. And again, normally I would have covered this, but not in open house. And it explains you have criminal law, civil law, constitutional law, and case law and administrative law. We'll talk about that in details as we go through, and if you have any questions about any of this, but don't hesitate not to read the information here, because it supplements your reading. And then, like I said, in the lectures I would normally cover them. What is a crime? The same thing, and it breaks down misdemeanors and felonies and infractions. A misdemeanor, very simply put, is a crime whereby you go to jail for less than a year. Okay, and generally jail is the place for misdemeanors. Prison is the place for felonies. However, individuals can be held in jail awaiting trial if they don't make bail. Felony is more than a year in prison and are more serious than misdemeanors, and it shows you some of them. We'll be talking about them as we go along each week. An infraction has to do like traffic or things of that nature. Jails versus prisons. Jails are temporary holding, and like I said, it's misdemeanors, and also while you're awaiting trial, and conducted by the county. Prisons are conducted by the federal and state government, and you more serious offenders. Okay. So what is a crime? You can just really simply know that there are 3 classifications. The Fourth Amendment probable cause is something that is very important for you to be aware of, is that you can't arrest anyone but upon probable cause. And this talks about the elements of the offense, and it explains probable cause. Reasonable suspicion, that's the old Terry stop that Terry versus Ohio, that involves a case that decided that. And so this is the basis where you can temporarily stop a person, pat them down, but you can't go in their pockets and stuff unless, for example, if you see something sticking out like a knife or a gun handle, then you can. But it's for a purpose of protecting the individual. You can read through that again if you have questions. The Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, we'll talk about that throughout the whole thing. These are exceptions to obtaining warrants. Plain view, it means what it says. Consent must be voluntarily, and those kinds of things. And I'll ask you some hypotheticals about those things sometimes, but you'll see some of those in the practice things. Here's a CPD. They added this. This is really nice. Consent to search, and you can take a look at that, and you can click on that and download that file. So these little dots on the end, you use them to get those documents, okay? Save them. Automobile exception is another. And then search incident to an arrest. All right. Key terms. These are things that you want to know. Why do you want to know them? Because you need to know them. But secondly, because when you take your quiz in week 3, you're going to need to know these. I've already told you about several of them, and you will be able to remember. By the way, when you take your quiz, you can't have any of this stuff out. It's closed book. Automobile exceptions, then search incident to an arrest. So we've put together that information for you as well. Now, for practice, these next 3 things are things that I encourage students to use. I want to share this with you. So it's an activity to help you. So to start the activity, click on the element below that is not an element of armed robbery. And then if you change your mind, drag the spot marker to change its position. So what is not an element of armed robbery? What is not an element? Okay, nice work. Then that's what it tells you. So very good, Jennifer. Armed robbery is the intentional taking of property from another. It doesn't have to be entering a dwelling. So anyway, there's 7 questions. You go over those, and if you get them wrong, then it'll tell you why. That's the cool part about it. Classification of crimes. We just talked about that a few minutes ago. Okay. And you start this activity. Okay, match the type of crime with the proper crime classification. Driving without a seatbelt. What is it? Yeah, it's right there. Burglary with a sentence of 18 months. Yep. And then, of course, damage to property with a 30-day sentence. Yep. And you submit it. And if you, by the way, okay, I'm going to show you something. Nice work. But I want to show you something just for your own information. I'll show you this. So you'll see. Okay, damage to property with a 30-day jail sentence. And you do this. Burglary with a sentence of 18 months, misdemeanor. Seatbelts infraction. Okay, now watch what's going to happen. Almost right. Okay, and it tells you try again. So I was just showing you that so that it actually has a check to help you out there. So don't be afraid. Don't be worried. It's not going to be, oh man, that kind of thing. So then the final thing, listen to me good what I'm about to say. This is so important. You see this practice quiz? These 3 sections here are extremely helpful for you preparing for the exam. By the way, so when you get ready to get to week 3, you'll have that. Practice quiz. Here's a heads up to you. Some of the questions that are in the practice quiz are in the actual quiz. When we get to week 3, I won't show them to you, but I'm just telling you, trust me, you'll say afterwards, you're right, Professor Wright. I said, I know I'm right. It's my last name. I have a sense of humor too, so. Okay, so then the practice quiz. So what are codified misdemeanors and felonies known as? And you may or may not get this right. Now, what are they known as? Administrative law, criminal law, civil law, or case law? Just take a shot. That is absolutely right. Correct. So you want to do those. There's 10. So those are very, very, very important. So each week you're going to have that. All right. So I am done for the evening. Any questions about anything? Okay. Any suggestions? I always ask this. Any suggestions for the key phrase or word for today? Type it in the chat box and I'll see it. Oh, you asked what's the code word? Okay. What's the code? Okay. So any suggestions? Nobody wants to step out and make a suggestion? And said no. Okay, Jennifer, you've been with me before. Take a shot at it. What do you think? This is just a suggestion. A long, long, long time ago, I used to use that, but I don't use that. So today it's criminal law. That's too easy, Professor, right? Yeah, but if you don't know it, it's not too easy. So, anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out with me for this long period of time. I do hope to see you guys next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard, where we'll go an hour. Won't go an hour and a half anymore in this course. So, any comments, questions, great observations, thoughts? I'm dropping this class right now. Okay. Okay. You're going to learn, Lynn. Jennifer will tell you. Uh, there you go. Do not drop the class. All right. No, seriously. Any class that I teach, I tell students, don't drop the class. You know, I'm a, I'm pro student. I'm, I'm an ambassador for my students. Okay. And so even after you finish with me in classes, you can still come back to me for help, not to go against another professor, but to help you in the future. All right, so I'm going to say good night. Enjoy your week. Um, Stay safe and get those assignments done. All right, good night.